Ferrari's 2025 season isn't out of control yet. However, with 7 races completed, the clock is ticking louder than ever in Maranello. The SF25 is a car that fluctuates between brilliance and breakdown according on the track, compound, and day. Now, as Formula One returns to Europe and the paddock enters its most development-intensive phase, Ferrari is discreetly preparing its most significant modification of the season, and possibly the most significant enhancement of the post-Binotto era. The problem is no longer theoretical, it is mechanical. Ferrari engineers, led by Loic Serra, have identified the SF25's fatal flaw, a rear suspension system with a too small setup window. The car comes alive on quick front-limited tracks such as Jeddah or Imola. However, when balancing is more delicate, like in Miami, or tracks with varying cornering speeds, the package collapses under its own rigidity. That is about to change. The upcoming race upgrade will be more than just a modification to the floor or wings. This is an interior transformation. New rear components, wider adjustability, and a more forgiving setup range are slated to be installed, a mechanical makeover that is rarely seen in the middle of the season. For Charles Leclerc, this could be his last chance in a championship season that is slipping away. For Lewis Hamilton, this may be the start of a genuine recovery. After struggling with feel and consistency in the early rounds, Imola gave the 7-time winner his first taste of true synergy with the SF25. He believes that more is possible, but qualifying remains Ferrari's Achilles heel, and Monaco, with its harsh structure and razor-thin margins, is approaching quickly. The timing could not be more important. If Ferrari succeeds with this overhaul, they may not only preserve their season, but also rewrite its storyline. What if they fail? There may be no recuperation left. Ferrari should view the Imola weekend as a double-edged sword. On Saturday, it appeared as if we had gone back a year, when even the SF24 was unable to extract the full capability of the new soft tyre during qualifying. The same was true for the Maranello team's 2025 car, but this year, we must also consider the competitiveness of Mercedes, and, particularly, Williams. In Imola, we also saw a highly savvy Aston Martin in qualifying, with the Silverstone crew correctly naming the best performing compound on the flying lap, the medium. For these reasons, Leclerc and Hamilton did not advance past 11th and 12th place on the grid. However, as was the case last season, and again this year, the race transformed both SF25s, which demonstrated exceptional pace, particularly with the monegasque, unlucky timing of the virtual and safety car occurrences, while Lewis Hamilton appears to be on an upward trend. Ferrari. The SF25 is a car with significant flaws, yet it is not completely wrong. The Maranello team's start to the 2025 season has been nothing short of remarkable, as it sits 4th in the Constructors' Championship after 7 races, 165 points behind McLaren. Despite Red Bull's troubles in collecting points with both cars and the more technical Mercedes in the race, they still have a reasonable chance of finishing second, considering the only 33-point lead from the Brackley outfit. Instead, the drivers have few options, with Leclerc leading Piastri by 85 points and Norris, who is presently second, by 72 points. It is now clear that the SF25's performance is overly reliant on the trade-offs that Ferrari must make in terms of ride height and mechanical rigidity. This also explains, in part, the significant difference in performance seen in some GPs between Saturday and Sunday, as the compromises are more or less significant depending on the specific race weekend. The SF25 actually performs much better on Sunday, albeit not at the level of Red Bull and McLaren overall, on the more front-limited circuits, thanks to the SF25's significant front end, as confirmed directly by Leclerc. The good Sunday performances in Jeddah and Imola are no coincidence. 2 pretty quick circuits, at least 3rd position, but not far behind the 2 best current cars. It becomes more difficult, however, when compromises between slow and fast parts of the track become important. The case of Miami is the most recent, but also the most indicative in a negative sense, as the Italian car has virtually never entered the window, finishing 5th behind Williams. This, along with the now chronic problem of extracting top performance in qualifying, particularly with the softest compounds in the Pirelli range, has effectively negated all of the goals set at the start of the year. The 2025 project is clearly problematic from several perspectives, but it is not completely wrong, or at least not like the first Mercedes with the zero pods concept, for example. As a result, Maranello believes that the SF25 should not be abandoned, and could even provide some stage satisfaction by the end of the season if the current issues are resolved. One can think that, better than nothing, rather, even though the aims were clearly very different, and the season will continue to be bad, with no longer being able to compete for even one of the two World Championships already in May. For this reason, even though Loic Serra was practically focused on the 2026 project, after Australia, the need arose to resolve, or at least try to limit the problems with the SF25's rear end, with the goal of being able to fully exploit the potential of the SF25 project, which currently does not exist and cannot be unlocked without additional targeted updates. As expected by Autoracer, work is being done on an upgraded rear suspension, which is not entirely new, with the goal of improving the internal range of setup, given that the initial specification does not work properly at various angles. Something similar was done in the midst of the season last year, though to a lesser extent. The technicians supervised by the French DT appear to be focusing mostly on the internal components of the rear mechanical in order to broaden a configuration window that was discovered to be too small following tests in Bahrain and then verified in Australia during the opening weekend of the season. An update that has already passed through Maranello's dynamic benches, the most crucial stage of its deliberation, and that clearly has the potential to unlock more potential than simple aerodynamic tweaks, which will be present regardless and will benefit from a superior mechanical base. These latest generation cars are indeed very aerodynamically limited by the mechanical platform, but the current Ferrari SF25 is even more so, which is why in Maranello they have remodulated all the updates, even in terms of timing. Everything has slipped forward in response to mechanical updates that were not initially anticipated. Ferrari may have departed Imola without a podium, but the biggest tale remains unwritten. With the most radical mechanical upgrade in over a year on the horizon, and the entire season now reconfigured around it, one can't help but wonder if the new rear suspension will be the game changer the team so desperately needs. Or is the SF25 just condemned to be a car of compromise, magnificent one day and broken the next? What if Monaco, with all of its ride height intricacy and qualification pressure, reveals everything again? Charles Leclerc appears increasingly belligerent. Lewis Hamilton is quietly more confident. But the truth may be hidden beneath the carbon shell in the dark corners of a rear-end design that has the potential to either unleash or bury Ferrari's future. The next chapter begins now, but will it start with redemption or collapse?